Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniXTCG, and it's about that time. We're gonna make that set 6 tier list, and yeah, it's taken a little longer than usual because I wanted to do a little more extensive testing. I wanted to make sure I covered all of my bases, so I hope this is a product that you guys are going to enjoy. And yeah, like the video if you like this sort of content, subscribe if you haven't already for more Fusion World and soon to be Gundam card game content. It is still on the horizon, mind you. And then you can always go in the description and check out basically all the other avenues of Universe X, like my gaming channel and whatnot. And if you really want to go the extra mile, join the $1 tier on my Patreon. It adds up and it means a lot to me. So let's hop into the tier list, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so we got a lot of decks to go through. Of course, this being a set 6, and we've already had tier lists for every set, so we're not going to exactly dive into the ones we don't need to dive into, but if there needs to be some extra explaining, we will. So the tiers here are regional winners. These are decks that I not only expect to top often, but I do expect them to take their tournaments home with the most consistency. Competitive, I do expect them to top, and they may every now and then even get a win, but I do think there are going to be some hoops and some matchup luck that you have to get in order to pilot them to the top. Rogue are going to be for those ones where they have the ability to take game. They have maybe like explosive combos, but they're just not quite there yet for one reason or another. Maybe too many bad matchups, maybe a lack of consistency in that high roll, things like that. And then you've got needs a little something. Needs a little something. There's a lot of decks that are starting to reach a critical mass of, I mean, when I say a lot, there's a bunch of decks that are reaching a critical mass where I think they're just like, you just need a little bit. You just need a little bit, and then you're going to be able to keep going. And then you have locals. These are the ones where, you know, they have their plays, but they are in no way, shape, or form either consistent enough or powerful enough to be played, I think, to a top finish. And then we have the Bro Y tier, which is just going to be, you know, the decks, the Blue Gohan, for example, just like the what were you thinking and why. So starting out here, right, we are going to take Starter Coup. We're actually going to put him in the needs a little something. Starter Coup is a U7 red leader, and there's a lot of support, and they add more and more to that every set. And with the new 4-cost Frieza, he's actually gained quite a lot, because you are able to, at any point, you know, you play the 4-cost Frieza, you swing, you activate battle to make him 30k, and then you activate the Frieza's effect to draw a card. And then you can also do that on the defense as well. So that kind of makes him almost like a little mini Jiren for the deck, except that this guy is not going to be quite the, I mean, he actually, they pretty much almost serve the same purpose, except that you can actually get a draw going forward, not just on the defense. So he gained a very big card in that. Now, that being said, you're still playing out cards one by one. You're not really cheating anything out, and so the deck tends to be a little too fair, in my opinion. Following that, you've also got this guy. I do think he's pretty much in the same area. Like, you could either put either of these decks pretty much there. He gained another good card in that Frieza, essentially being able to pretty much like on curve, you could, if you awaken quickly, you could play out the 3-cost Goku, swing for 30, draw a card, and you can also play out the 4-cost Frieza and swing for 30, you know, with your leader, swing for 30 with Frieza, you're going to draw a card from the activate battle effect. So I do think that they both gain some cards, but they're still just not there. Looking at Beerus. Now, Beerus is in a horrendous place for me right now. I think he could be and needs a little something. Beerus still has a lot of great removal that lines up across the board, and his crit can be particularly deadly if you don't draw correctly, or if you draw well and they don't draw correctly. However, the thing about Beerus to me is that he's still a crit leader. You are going to be missing some of those cards for advantage later on, and then on top of that, like, you just have to do that mad balance of how many Awakeners do I run versus how many cards with gas versus how many zeros, especially if I may not be sitting with the biggest hand. And this format, spoiler alert, is going to have a lot of its best decks be blue and yellow. And one of yellow's best cards right now cannot be touched by Beerus. I'm looking at Frieza SCR. And then you have blue, which has always kind of been like a miser of Beerus, and it should be in this format in spades. So I'm going to put him in needs a little something. You have to get particularly lucky. I don't think he's quite good enough to be in Rogue, but yeah. Top Coup, law. He's just not really, ever since he got kneecapped, he hasn't ever been the same, and his power cards are still on the 1 list, and you know, he's getting new U7 cards, but it's not necessarily good enough. He has no way to to activate that freezes effect. Really, he's definitely just in the bro why. He had his time in the sun and he's gone. All right, Jiren, straight to competitive. Jiren right now has a built-in kind of play style that's going to really work well against the gatekeeper of the format, Broly BR, and that's going to allow you to really have a little foothold against, like I said, the gatekeeper. On top of that, he operates pretty similarly into the other green decks, so you've got a color diff just by having, you know, Jiren exist against green. Now going into yellow, yeah, it really depends on how quickly and they establish their Frieza SCR. If they don't, you could be in a place where you can wall yellow too. I know Boo can have a fair amount of counterplay simply because of the destruction of the hand and the pressure they're putting out, but against most yellow decks, it will kind of hinge upon how quickly they see and feel that Frieza. Other than that though, you have a pretty decent matchup into other red decks that won't be able to build up the hand while comboing extra cards to get over your 25k body. Just everything that Jiren was before, it's still here. The only difference though is that you're going to be facing a lot more blue this format, I think, and that's saying something, because before it was just like, okay, it was Halo Ku, maybe Vegito, but now really every blue deck is pretty strong, so you might have your work cut out for it. That's why I don't really see it as a regional winner, because you'll have to jump through mad hoops of facing a bunch of blue decks or, you know, a bunch of yellow decks that might find their Friezas on curve or use it with the marker to put it out, and that's going to be rough. Daima Goku, I'm going to put Daima Goku in Rogue. He's still a very good deck, and his removal is like Beerus. It's like slightly worse Beerus for exchange of actually drawing cards. The main thing, and he has like cards like Gloria to really close out game. The main thing that's kind of rough here is that without the 25k body, he's going to be a lot more susceptible to aggression, and that's going to be a little rough considering that red doesn't draw that many cards. So I do think that he could top easily. I just don't see him getting through an entire regional event XL. And then you've got UI Goku. UI Goku is also in a weird spot. I do think you can put him in Rogue, because UI Goku is one of those decks where you're either equipped to beat it or you're not. If UI Goku doesn't flip until turn 4 or 5, he's going to be in a very, very good position with a healthy hand, and then you have to deal with a very, very obnoxious amount of essentially defense, and he's going to have all the powers of red negging things to 0, so he still can ball. However, if you get paired up against Janemba, they can just go as wide as they need to. If you get paired up against Daijita yellow, they can just pretty much go wide with attacks. If you get paired against, like, there's a lot of things. But that being said, he actually is a leader that can contend with Broly, simply because if they swing for one big swing a turn, you're probably going to be able to out that. So yeah, he has his plays, but it's going to take some bracket luck as well as yeah, that's just kind of rough. I'm going to put Daimaku in Rogue, Daimaku 2, but this guy definitely needs to be, he's probably kind of mid-bottom tier of Rogue. The thing is, with Shin now in the game, you do have these roles where you can turn 1 cantrip, turn 2 use your marker and Shin to play out Shin and a Self-Awakener, take 2 life. Turn 3, play out another Shin, play another Self-Awakener, you're awakened, and if they can clear Shin and the Self-Awakener on their turn 3, you now have, like, what, your leader swing and 3 different attacks coming at them, and then they have to deal with those the following turn as they charge to 4, otherwise you're playing a Glorio and then being able to collapse on them as well. So there are some roles where he feels like a traditional aggro deck, like nothing you can do, that freight train is coming. However, you don't see Shin, and yeah, it's still that thing. And there's a lot of decks that will have multiple bodies worth of removal, such as 4-cost Gohan, Sickle, Final Explosion, and you will really have to race your opponent to see how many times they have that versus how many times you can resolve Shin and play cards around it, and that kind of gets murky. So he definitely has his aggro high roll, but it's not like broken. I'm going to put her Android 18, first deck of set 6, in the locals tier. And the locals tier is just, I almost wanted to put her in Bro Y, but she's not that awful. She is, I think, the worst. She's the second worst red leader to me right now. I would put her above Topku, only because she has the ability to clear an entire field with Android 13. She's getting a promo at the Ultimate Battles, which is going to do pretty well for her. And she's got some cool things. It is nice to know that your opponent will struggle to keep a board with this leader being played. But realistically, almost every one of her cards is like, it's a generic red card, but it has the Android tag, and so they made it like 15-20% worse. There's a couple 1-for-1s, like they reprinted set 1 3-drop Gohan that just minuses 10 from the entire board, but she has a bunch of cards that are just like, oh, these are staple red cards, but worse with Android, so it is what it is. Now, this is going to be a wild part, but you're going to notice a trend with blue. Blue, especially with Pilaf not being touched, Final Hope still where it is, blue has reached this critical mass of almost every blue deck, except one in particular, being able to be kind of competitive in its own way. I'm going to put just this guy, Vegeta, in Rogue, and he might just be able to be over here. All of the blue decks currently have the ability to just keep their life up high and then just like wear you down, and then when they flip, they generally have some sort of beneficial offensive capability, or they have some sort of removal, and then on top of that, they all now have the peel-off loops, Final Hope / Videl for Recursion, and they can use their the new Goku Secret Rare to slam you for like some of the biggest shotguns on a double striker you've seen in this game. So yeah, Vegeta has been the same that he always is. I'm putting him at the top of Rogue because I do think that we could put all of blue in competitive, but I think there are some differences between them. Trunks is going to be weird. I'm going to put him a little lower. He is a blue deck and he has all those cool things, but at the end of the day, bouncing a 3 cost, or it's more now because you can reduce, there's a lot more level reduction. It's nice and all, but it's not as good as having a 35k leader that's going to push the envelope on damage. Now, when it comes to Goku Black, I'm just going to put him on locals. Realistically, he does have a really cool effect. He is crit, you can awaken with Mize and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he still needs to get his Goku Black combos off. There's more 1-drop removal than ever. Even blue just got some more counterattack that bottom decks it. There's just a lot you have to get through with this leader, and the payoff is playing Goku Black on turn 4, which now, before when, you know, he was chilling, it's like that Goku Black gets played out, you probably won't be able to get it off the field, and it's going to be able to run freely for 1 to 2 turns, and you might be able to stick another one in that time. Now, it can be frozen, he can be much more readily blown up. There's just a lot of things that can happen with that Goku Black, and it's just not the same stickiness. So even the high roll for Goku Black is not that. Zamasu, I'm going to put Zamasu in Rogue. 25k base, you can elongate the game. He's not the deck he kind of used to be because mainly yellow will kind of get up in there and start working you with the freezes. He does play fairly well. Like most blue decks can play fairly well into Broly, and that kind of gets them over the gatekeep level, but they might run into some problems with some of the strongest decks. Halo Ku, straight to the top, baby. Deck is still every bit as strong as it was. It still has game on almost every other deck in the format with ease, and now if you want to, you can run the Son Goku double striker in order to have these stellar turns of, you know, peel off, get back Final Hope / activate Sharpener's effect, flip over, okay, cool, I'll get a free Final Hope / tap 5, and now I'm going to swing at you with my double striker. I'm going to, for free, play Final Hope / I'm going to get that effect twice, and my double striker's at base 75. And then, oh yeah, by the way, I had another Final Hope / in my hand, you know, where I got it back with one of the P-Loss. So I'm going to play that with my last energy. So now my leader's like, my double striker's like a base 95. And then I'm going to drop the 30k that's on my board, and then my entire hand. You're just going to get shotgun out of the game. So, yes. Simple little bit about this, though. The Broly deck requires you to be able to get rid of the 8-drop to really check it and make sure that you're not getting kind of floored by its very linear yet very powerful combo. Satan City, it's a little harder to get rid of an 8-drop. That's like 2 Hercules going off, and then you having like Great Saiyaman in hand and stuff like that with like one more 1-drop and a you know, a high school on the board. And that can happen. That's really like, you have the high school on the board for another turn, maybe you have out the Arasa or something like that, and you just, you know, make sure you're stacked. Like play a Hercule, that's 1 energy, play Girls with Short Hair to make sure your deck is stacked, then play another Hercule, you know, get the swing, and then play Great Saiyaman. So you're really only playing Girls Short Hair, Hercule, Great Saiyaman. That's 4 energy. That's the curve that you generally want to be on in order to get that off. However, they get rid of 2 Hercules, and you got to get them back to your hand. You got to replay them. It gets more expensive to try to do it every time. And I do think that sometimes Broly will be able to stack up on Hercule now, or stack up on Satan City. Now, if you mod Satan City to have like things like absolute lightnings, you're going to be sacrificing both combo power and some of your blind flips in exchange for being able to have game on this deck, and that may weaken your consistency a little bit. But either way, this is still one of the best, if not the best deck in the format. I'm going to be here and put blue Digita on regional winners. The deck is very, very, very strong, able to use every facet of blue to the max capability, has very, very strong removal, can remove 1 to 2 cards at a time, excellent draw power. This is a sleeper deck, but like legitimately it has gotten so much in the 3 cards that has gotten between Ultimate Battles and this new set. This is a good card now, and like I said, it's got the finishing power of the new FCR, which is just paramount. Unfortunately, we're putting Gohan in the Bro Y tier, but we're actually going to put him over here. To be actually honest, I'm not going to hold you. This is going to sound, some of you guys are going to be like, this is blasphemous, but you can probably put Gohan at locals. That's the highest he can go. Why? Because he's still going to be able to play Absolute Lightning to stop Broly. He's still going to be able to play Pilafs and Girins to get rid of a bunch of 1-drops. He's still going to be able to have that blue endgame. Like, that's the strength of blue. Gohan is a terrible leader. Probably one of the worst in the game, if not the worst in the game, and he still can be carried by the power of blue. Also, on top of that, on a high roll, you could be dropping Vegito 6s out as early as turn 4, and then start blowing through your opponent's just life and hand with these swings. So realistically, I do think that he could be at locals now. I just don't trust him to be anywhere here. But if he gets the Vegeta treatment, we get a couple new spells that can work really well with him. Yeah, that's cool. To be honest, he could probably go in. He could probably go and needs a little something. This is gonna sound funny, but at the end of the day, his high roll reminds me of like Goku Black's high roll. If you can land a 6-drop on turn 4, you can kind of wreak some havoc with it. And he's got the all of blue's abilities to be blue. Like, it's just, that's what it's doing. Now, Vegito, we're going to go over to here. In fact, we may actually be able to put him over here. The cool thing about blue is that, or the cool thing about Vegito is that he kept Pilaf, nothing got taken, and now you got the double striker. So you might not even need to run the combo, the whole CU combo. You might just like make sure you run your 4 absolute lightnings, make sure you run your generic blue, and then there's just going to be a turn where you swing for 40, you put a savior on it, you hit your opponent for 45, they have to go down to 2, and then you just tap 5 and you swing with your secret rare. And then, you know, you maybe play another savior to give it a plus 30, or if you're running Final Hope, you know, you play that and you get a plus 40 on it, you dump your entire hand. It's just kind of insane. But Vegito definitely, I think, is a strong enough deck to be in competitive. I could see him easily winning a tournament. He's just like, blue is just at its all-time high right now. I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to put him at the top of Rogue. I think that he has a very fun playstyle. He's actually probably my favorite leader to come out of set 6. However, when I play him, I just can't help but think that like other decks are more fleshed out. Digita Blue has new support that just makes it a generically cool blue deck. Satan City has been kitted with its support so well that it's just a perfect deck. You have Vegito, who has reached his own critical mass, and he's just absorbing the new cards that have come out. Every blue deck got better with the secret rare that came out that was supposed to be used for this deck. But at the same time, set 6 DB Goku, he has a very cool combo plays. He has a lot of nuance, and I think he's the most fun for me because he's a really cool combo deck. However, I do think that at the end of the day, yeah, you could give infinite arguments to play any of these blue decks that I've put up here before you play him. But this could change. This could literally change as early as the manga set. He could have cards from there because DB was, you know, the first manga. So I'm going to put him on like standby. But yeah, I do think he's Rogue. I could easily see him topping. I have a build that I've been working on that I've been having a lot of fun with. I just don't think that he is the most consistent. I don't think he warrants being put over here. Then you've got Broly. We're just going to put Broly at locals. He is not bad. He gained a lot of cards to ramp into. 25k base body is always going to be good. And he can start healing now. You can be at 3, but if you play a, 9-drop Broly at some point and just draw a card and nuke the board, that's just going to be real. When it comes to Gohan, Gohan is very interesting. I'm going to put him over here in Rogue, and it's gonna be a weird moment because where in Rogue he stands, I don't know. Blue is very, very strong right now, but Gohan got a new card that's going to allow him to just put out the healing one, and that's not as bad as most people think. Most people are like, oh, you can't go sideways with it, and you cost 5, but 1, this Gohan can now heal on 5 energy. And that's really cool because as a green deck, you just need to get to the late game. So being able to, just by super comboing at some point or comboing with the 6-cost Android 16, you're going to be able to now heal on 5, which can buy you an extra turn to reach your stabilization turn. That's pretty decent. On top of that, he can play the secret rare from set 1 2 turns earlier, potentially wiping a board that would have killed him in 2 turns. So I think that that's actually a very good point to be on, but I do think that he could be in Rogue. Just how well he does, I don't know. I want to work on the deck. Now, androids, competitive. I'm just going to put them here. The reason why they're still competitive is because they haven't lost a single thing. They can still ramp ridiculously, and if they do so, they can still use the new Broly cards. And, now that they can get up to 9 and play out a Broly that heals them and nukes the board and is going to double strike, that's a crazy option. The destruction plus the heal is a crazy option. Plus a 30k leader base that's going to be able to hopefully push you down to 2 to then be double struck. You guys need to stop. My cats are messing in the background. Is going to be a very, very, very big boon. But yeah, the only things though is if you're not running Warm Greeting, you can still get very, very stuck by Jiren. And then on top of that, the aggressive pressure of some of these blue decks is actually enough. They can clear your board and then press you with high numbers that are hard to get out of unless you have, Earth Destroying Blow in hand. So it's there, but it's starting to show its age, I think. And there's also some matchups, even in Rogue, that can completely just body this deck. Like, I don't think there is a single version of androids that wins against Daimaku 2. Because, like, even last format, you just turn Brain off and just start swinging at them, and then maybe line up a Tamagami 3 blocker to protect your life. But now, it's, like, even worse, because Shin will actively put too many bodies on the board for them to take care of, and they'll just get flooded out. Cell, you could put Cell in Rogue with a lot of blue decks and them wanting to, just kind of wait long enough for the game to be in their control. But they have the ability, like all of them have the ability to play slow. Only some of them have the ability to play fast. And when it comes to this, I do think that you have these decks up here that could be aggressive. You could try to awaken quicker with Vegito and really push this in. You could try to just be very aggressive with this deck and then still get that in. Peel Off allows you to put some pressure on. You already know what Halo Coup can do. But yeah, if you try to play the long game versus Cell, Cell will generally win out. The life will start going the wrong way. At some point, you will be looking at a board with like a legitimately like 6-7 life, and you're just kind of like, how did this happen? You don't get to abuse lots of the new cards because you will be kind of nuking your energy to play Cell, but I think it's actually got more legs than most people think right now, just format. I'm just not sure if people are actually going to play Cell. Piccolo, we're going to put Piccolo in Needs a Little Something. He definitely got a Searcher card that was really, really cool. It's a 10k, it swings for 30, and it's going to search 2 6 costs, and that's really cool. But Piccolo is still missing something, but Piccolo is at like a critical mass. Like, I can feel it in my bones. They released this card for no reason at all, and I don't know why we got that Searcher. So hopefully, we already saw that Scouter Vegeta. Hold up one sec. So we already saw that Scouter Vegeta is getting new cards from the manga set. They showed like a Kaioken Goku, but I mean, Piccolo could also get some of the same treatment, hopefully. And if that's the case, like, I hope it's good. Because like I said, I think Piccolo already has an in-game that feels like unavoidable. Like, that dude is Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet once he gets to 8 energy above. But if we can just get some good linking pieces, I think that this Gohan was a really good step in the right direction. You ramp from 3 to 4, you charge to 5, you play this guy, you search your stuff. We just need like 1 or 2 good cards. Then you got Vegeta. I'm going to put Vegeta right over here as well, but I'm going to put him over here. Vegeta has a very fun play style, and he has some plays. He has some really cool moves. The issue is, once again, he is just missing a couple good pieces. Even on release, I was like, this guy is only missing 2 or so cards before he feels really good. And hopefully in the manga set we get it, but right now he just needs a little something, you know. You might do well, you might top 64 with it, but I don't really think you're going anywhere with it. When it comes to Halo-ku, right? Halo-ku is in a very interesting position. I'm going to put him in competitive. And the reason for that is with a bunch of blue decks being around, you have the ability to get paired up against decks that maybe only attack you once or twice really high per turn, and that could give you the window. Because if you can't push like at least 3 damage per turn against this Goku, you probably will lose just to his mechanics. He's kind of gatekeepy that way. But at the same time, with yellow being the way it is, he's probably at Rogue, and he might actually be a little lower in Rogue because he doesn't really have a flexible style of play. It's just kind of like, do you have it? Do you have the ability to beat me? And if you do, then it happens just over the course of a bunch of turns. Broly. We're putting Broly in competitive. So I don't think that Broly is necessarily a better deck than, like, a better deck fully than a lot of these. But the way Broly plays, the ability to put an 8 cost down as early as turn, like, what, 3, going second, he's a gatekeeper. If your deck cannot work against the way Broly operates, you will not do well in the format, because all it takes is you seeing a Broly to 2 Brolys to knock you down to X1, X2, or even X3, because you just can't function versus the deck. He is the new Jiren, in my opinion, which makes me laugh because they're both kind of like the beefy in-game Superboys. But, like, he's the new Jiren of the format for me. Your deck needs to be able to beat Broly BR, or else you have no business going to a regional. And because he's a popular character, more popular than Jiren, he's probably going to get played a lot more. So yes, even if you don't think the deck will be represented, you're probably wrong, at least for a chunk of the format. This was the most anticipated leader we have had in this game for quite some time. Now Frieza, yellow is strong, and yeah, that's pretty much just that. Yellow is like mini blue to me. I think that blue is just so super strong, like it carries whatever leader you put into it. I think that yellow is almost at that point. Yellow can almost carry any leader. The only reason why Goku Black is this low on blue is because Goku Black has to build unlike any other. Like, Goku Black can't stay unawakened for the entire game, which means that he has to be built different, which means he doesn't get the I'm blue buff. But everybody else here can be carried. Gohan can be carried by blue to a high degree. This Frieza, though, I think there are just better yellow leaders, but at the end of the day, I think that he could ball. He could still play Barrier Frieza, keep it untapped. There's a lot of things. He's got the King Cole combo. There's a lot of things that this Frieza can do, and so I will put him somewhere over here. I might even put him over Zamasu, because if you land like a secret rare into a secret rare, your opponent is really just going to be kind of just stuck. Those things will never even get a chance to be attacked on unless they allow you to. Cooler. I'm going to put Cooler and needs a little something. His leader effect kind of just starts minusing his hand. And it's cool he's a crit leader. It's cool he can untap a card, even like the secret rare. But at the end of the day, unless you have that 3 dropout, I think, that they released, he doesn't really, like, he starts bleeding out in hand. And he already kind of had a low hand because he was a crit leader. So honestly, he's somewhere and needs a little something. A lot of the crit leaders need a little something, you know? Then you have got Ginyu Force. I'm going to put this here at the bottom of Rogue, because Ginyu Force has a lot of outs. A lot of decks can out Ginyu Force, but Ginyu Force is one of those decks where it's like, I would never bring him into an event because I fear that variance. But almost any deck in the game outside of like 25 base K leaders can get got by Ginyu. Like, if Ginyu just like pops off, you can get got by Ginyu as almost any deck in the game. So, he's always there, but I just wouldn't bring him in because of, like, variance. Vegeta, straight to, actually, I put this here. He's either top of competitive or low of regional winners. I think that we are now in a format where you can see that you might have some fringe red, but you're probably going to see blue and yellow and green. And when it comes to yellow, when it comes to the blue matchup, Yes, their removal does not line up well with your protection. They will be able to tear through your boards. However, you have the gift of Frieza SCR, which they can't touch. And so being able to have Frieza SCR and then protect him with your extra cards is going to be a big boon. Very, very good plays. I think the deck is very, very strong. Then you have its matchup versus green, which just 3-drop Vegeta, say less. Like, it's just like that. And then you also have your matchups versus red, which really get helped by having the SCR Frieza. That's really what saves the matchup. But I think he's got a good enough spread, and that helps it out. I'm going to put this Boo into Rogue. You've got everything that makes yellow good, but you also have some abilities. You also have some new cards coming out, like the Dabura. This guy is going to actually be a lot stronger. A lot stronger. I don't see him winning, but I can easily see him top 64ing. Boo! Right to competitive. This guy is still very, very strong and has lost nothing. So, yeah, be prepared. This deck is still here. You still can methodically rip apart your opponent's hand, keep it at a manageable level, and then also, you know, just stack up your 5-cost boos, your 3-cost boos, your Bobbidis, and then just go hard at the very end of the game. Now, there are a couple of things that impact him. One, with the, you know, absence, or with the, with Broly being in the format, it's changed up the battle tricks that people like to play, and sparking, or absolute sparking, as well as Hell Rock Sasha, both can hurt Boo very well. You play out your 5-drop into your 3-drop, swing your 3-drop, and you get Hell Rock Sasha or sparking. Okay, bet. You just got into the attack and you stop the double striker from ever swinging. And that's going to be just like a way that another deck being in the format hurt Boo. But make no mistake, Boo is still a very, very strong deck, and it is a contender and is very consistent. In this format, because you now have some more variants. Some more variants on what you may face. I don't think you're going to face a sea of Haloku. You might, but I think there are some other decks that are worthy contenders, plus the Gatekeeper that is this. I do think that Janemba goes up. Janemba's either at the top of competitive, or it's at the bottom of regional winners. This guy basically can play all the good yellow cards. He can keep the energy up for defense, so Hellrock Sasha can always be live. And Hellrock Sasha is very good against the Boo matchup. Hellrock Sasha is very good against Broly. Hellrock Sasha does a lot of work. So you have a lot of things you can use, and you can go wide enough to blow out a lot of decks that normally wouldn't want that pressure, such as, you know, Androids, Broly, Zamasu, UI Goku, all the cards that just don't want to awaken early. You have the ability to use those, and so I do think he's pretty high up there. Goma is sort of at the bottom of Rogue, because essentially Goma is like big-bodied Ginyu. Your cards have to go right, but then you can unleash so much pressure. But there's just so many staples that get up in this this deck's like just like cheeks. Like you literally like Final Explosion, 4-cost Goku. Like, go check out my ultimate breakdown on Goma. A bunch of yellow staples are just crucial versus this deck, and then a bunch of blue staples are also crucial versus this deck. So it's just kind of weird. It's a very, very weird place to be in. Now, Daijita. I am going to put Daijita somewhere in competitive. I love this deck, but real quick, like, you're basically raining down 30s on other decks. And I do feel like I almost put him in regional winners, and I know that sounds silly, but the numbers just line up. If you're not facing a 25k, you're just hitting them 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. And most decks will crumble at that point. You also have access to Frieza SCR, so you have some staying power versus blue. The real issues when it comes to Daijita is that in the yellow mirror, you have to juggle your Frieza SCRs. Otherwise, a lot of things will be under the protection of 3-cost Vegeta, and it gets very, very hard to play the game. Against this matchup in particular, if they can just establish Bulma, then they have they can have results of training to recycle itself with Bulma. Every time you swing for 30, they can, you know, tap one, draw a card, get out of it, and that puts you in this like infinite advantage loop where they just will walk all over you. But outside of that, against most 20k leaders, this guy is a bully, putting on massive amounts of pressure. and the later you get in the game, the more cards you can play out that swing multiple times or cause the multiple swing. Like, there's just sometimes your opponent just simply doesn't have enough cards in hand for you to be at 7 energy and be like, okay, tap 3 for Goma, attack, attack. Okay, tap 4 for the SCR or for the SR, blow up something, and then swing for 30. And then my leader's gonna swing for 30, swing for 30. You just got swung on for 7 energy on a blank field. You just got swung on 5 times, and 3 of them were 30Ks. That's just a lot of pressure, and that's not counting what happens when you leave stuff on their field. So yeah. Now when it comes to black decks, most of these black decks are around the same point. I'm gonna put Bardock in Rogue. He's a strong deck, but I think the part that we can't pretend like we don't understand is that bro, what are you doing? I said no. Back up. So anywho, yeah, I'm gonna have to move that chair. Anywho, what you end up having to look at is that Bardock still doesn't really have a great blue matchup, and blue's about to be rampant. And so you have to give credit where credit is due. It's not a good place to be where your deck has a bad matchup versus blue. That's probably a death sentence in this format. But if you happen to dodge blue, you can probably put in a lot of work against some of these other colors. The new Gogeta SR is really good at shutting down yellow strategies mid to late game. And then you probably have the aggro, if you build it right, to press decks like Broly out of the game before you die. Now, this guy, I'm going to put needs a little something. He's a generic black deck, but out of the whole bunch, I see the least reasons to play. Well, okay, not the least reasons, but I definitely see you just don't know why you'd want to play him. Baby, I would put Baby over here in competitive. This guy has such a good resource advantage engine. He's able to recycle plenty cards. He's able to press damage. You could build him mid-range. You can build him aggro. I think Baby is a very, very good deck. Where he stands, I don't know. I might actually have to put him all the way over here. He can aggro these guys out of the game. He can slow down his game to do this. He can generate the marker to be able to use counter Broly tech. He can straight up bounce a lot of the Jiren, so he never gets pinned behind this Jiren's wall. However, his hand will get bodied pretty quickly by the rain of 30Ks that Daijita can put out. Blue is just not a great matchup, but again, he can be put out. And then yellow has enough utility to where you're just pretty much going out. And the only thing you'd have to worry about in this color is like the Gogeta SR if they run it, and that's a little costly in this, but maybe we'll see it in the mid-range version. Then you've got Gogeta. I'm putting Gogeta in. He's either the top of competitive, one of the top of competitives, or he's at the bottom of here. I'm going to put him around here. The thing with this guy is that he still has a bad matchup potentially into blue, but he always has his energy marker up once he awakens, allowing you to always have access to ultimate sparking. And ultimate sparking mises Broly, ultimate sparking mises Boo, ultimate sparking can do quite a lot. He also is likely going to be playing Gogeta on turn 5, which is going to shut down quite a lot in this tier. So it's kind of weird. He's up here. He might even be here, but I think that when you're looking at the best black leaders, Gogeta is the one that takes that cake. I'm just not sure if I can put him up in regional winners because I think that he has to jump through some hoops indeed. And then the last leader of the format, you got Piccolo. And Piccolo's at locals. it's pretty awful. I think that Piccolo is a decent deck, but I think that when you play Piccolo, you just run far too many times into why am I not playing another black leader? Like, in the comments, give me a single reason why you will play Piccolo over Baby or Gogeta. That's my challenge. That's my challenge in the comments to you guys. I think that for his cards coming out at the end phase and not being able to be used and them having to come from your hand, I think that he deserves some more powerful cards. The Piccolo Jr. chain is trash. The leader doesn't really, he's a crit leader and he doesn't even get the bonus on his front side for the 20 attacker. Like, there's not a lot of positives going for this deck. And when you start putting in more black staples, you realize, okay, I might have to save my energy marker to not use it on the egg. But at that point, why are you even using the egg? What's stopping you from playing Gogeta? What's stopping you from playing Baby? That's kind of how I feel about that. But yeah, guys, this is my tier list. I hope you guys enjoy it. This is definitely what so far testing has shown me. The regional winners and competitives, not really any particular order. I guess regional winners is technically in an order, but I think that like competitive can have a little mix around. But for the most part, I feel like these are kind of in order. At the top here, one of the things I have about Boo is that if you've been playing the Halo Coup Boo matchup, you can sort of see when you can keep your life at 7 for most of the game, and you get to like 6 energy or so with like 6, 7 life, Majin Buu starts stuttering. You're just removing whatever they play on the field, and they have to understand that if they put effort into going into you for game, they might just feed you a bunch of cards, force you to awaken, and then you still continue pressing down on them. So I think Buu naturally, this is gonna sound really weird, out of Buu and Halo Coup dominating the last format, I think Buu might actually have a chance of being naturally edged out of the format. However, I think Halo Coup, without the divine intervention of Bandai, is still just firmly stated where he is at. So let me know what you guys think about this tier list. Let me know your thoughts about the format in general in the comments. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to like it if you liked it. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more Dragon Ball Super Fusion World and Gundam content. And maybe we even get back into One Piece one day. It's going to take a bit for the global sync to happen, but then I'd be way more interested in the game. So yeah, thank you guys very much for your patronage. And speaking of that, if you want to support me on a deeper level, you can always just join that $1 tier. It means a lot to me and it does add up. But while we're here, I also have to give a special thanks to everybody that makes this channel and brand move a little bit more smoother by helping me out on my Patreon. I got to give a special vocal shout out to the Realm of Xers. That's the Big Daddy Flapjacks, the Beer R's, the Brother Bears, the Bryce R's, the Christopher V's, the Dallas S's. Thank you guys for being my Realm of Xers. I appreciate you dearly. And thank you guys, everybody in the Universal Aristocrat, as well as the, Galactic Patrol tier, for really just being there and holding it down. Thanks. I'll see you guys later. Peace.